What's up everyone, I'm Twisted. As you may know, there's a brand new game on the League client, which is basically League of Legends version of Balatru. And while everyone has been enjoying the gameplay and grinding for sigils, I've been playing it over and over, taking notes about all the cool lore I could find. In this video we're going to take a look at the story of the game, how it's tied to the narrative of this season, and how it might be teasing the next season of League of Legends. As you may remember, this season started with a comic about the demon Atakhan. It attacked Senuzol, was defeated, merged with Katashli, one of Senuzol's generals, then their spirits were bound to a helmet and they became slaves to Senuzol's will, and then again when he came back as Mordekaiser. That comic ended with the scene of LeBlanc summoning the demon. In the new game, the first thing we see is another comic. This takes place after the previous one, and we know this because of the article Riot put out about the game. Freed from LeBlanc after more than 1,000 years of imprisonment, Atakhan is rampaging around Runeterra, looking to feed on carnage and bloodshed, and to reacclimate to a world it doesn't recognize. This line also tells us that this is happening in the present, as Mordekaiser was defeated about 1,000 years ago. The comic starts with Atakhan feasting. We'll see him in 4 locations. The first is the Noxus Valley, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is a brand new location. You may notice how he looks quite different here. I'm not sure why that's the case, because at the end of his comic he didn't look like this, instead taking on the form he did before being enslaved and after Senuzol's death. Moving on, we see him on the peaks of Elmund, another new location, then in the forests of Qualfala, which is south of the Immortal Bastion, and then finally in a strange place that resembles Senuzol's Reckoning Fields. Here he meets this stranger who calls him an old friend and invites him to play a familiar game of cards. As the stranger says the name Katashli, we see the demon's form changing to a man. Before we understand what's happening here, we first need to check out the stranger's game and see what he has to say. The real game starts with a tutorial. How to play the game isn't super relevant for this video. All you need to know is that there are cards that you must combine to defeat enemies and that you can use magic sigils to gain advantages. Another thing that you should know is that there are multiple locations with multiple enemies to defeat, and this is supposed to reflect campaigns that Katashli had while in Senuzol's army. As you play the game, the stranger is going to have many conversations with Katashli, or at least with the Katashli part of Atakhan, though some lines are clearly more directed at the demon itself. They share one mind now after all, one that is quite fragmented as we saw in the comic. So, in truth, the soldier is always speaking to both. These dialogues happen when the player enters a resting point or beats a boss. The various lines from the stranger all share a theme. They are all about the past, in specific the past of Katashli before and after he bounded to the demon. Katashli, however, is having a hard time remembering everything, and so the stranger is helping him refresh his memory. But the stranger will also taunt him, or question if what he remembers actually happened. Neither of these two are the most reliable narrators, so it's important to keep that in mind. In this video we will not take a look at all of these conversations, because honestly there are too many of them. So instead we'll take a look at the overall story and skip to the end. But don't worry, I've analyzed all the dialogue lines and I'll be making a video about them because they are indeed very interesting. So as you progress through the game, the stranger will mention how he was a soldier that also once served Senuzol. He'll tell stories about things he has heard, about what happened to Katashli and Atakhan, about Senuzol and his death, how he came back as Mordekaiser, how he was banished again, and a lot about Katashli and Atakhan's relationship with him. A very complicated relationship where it's hinted that they feared Mordekaiser, but they were also, and I quote, a prisoner who grew to love their shackles. Truly unhealthy stuff. Again, I'll cover all of this more in depth in another video. As the game goes on and you finish each area by defeating its boss, an eclipse begins to form behind the stranger, painting the sky orange until the stranger finally begins to reveal his true intentions. Upon defeating the final boss for the first time, we get one final conversation. Familiarity is a weakness. It lowers your guard, and when your guard is lowered, the blade reveals itself. The stranger says that the demon's perception couldn't be tricked, but it could be suppressed, showing him things he found familiar like the place, time, game, and stories, and the sigils of the game were tools used for this illusion. The demon is now free from its eternal, purposeless hunger and now must serve the Black Rose. After this conversation we get one final comic. The stranger reveals their true form, LeBlanc. She locks him in place with her chains and taunts him before the illusion breaks, showing that they are in the same room we saw in the season cinematic and in LeBlanc's cinematic. And we get this awesome reveal that LeBlanc is looking for a Darkin weapon, or at least it would have been an awesome reveal if her voice lines didn't also tell us that a few days before the game came out. But still, the fact that Atakhan knows the location of the weapon is brand new. Vladimir then shows up just before the demon starts painting a wall, the last panel of the comic being the location where the weapon is. Everyone is speculating where this could be. To me, it looks like Ionia, but honestly, if that's true, I'll be disappointed because that would mean yet another Darkin weapon that was hidden there after Varus and Xolaani. And we know this isn't Xolaani because the League of Legends account teased that this is a Darkin Glaive. But hey, at least we finally know what this symbol was, a Darkin weapon, in specific a Darkin Glaive. I have no doubts in my mind that this is teasing a brand new champion, either a new Darkin, someone wielding that Darkin, or someone related to it. And since we know that new champions are tied to seasons, that means the next season might be a Darkin season, or most likely an Ionian season, or a season themed after the place where the Darkin weapon is. I think that makes more sense than a season solely themed after the Darkin, especially because we know that season 2 will be much different from the Noxian season. Hopefully this isn't Ionia, and hopefully we can get one of the many non-Darkin, like for example Voliva, who was mentioned for the first time in 2018 in the story Twilight of the Gods, and mentioned recently in Varus' updated voiceover from 2023. I have no idea why LeBlanc wants a Darkin weapon, but as I said in my video about her voice lines, everything she does usually revolves around saving the world, especially from Mordekaiser, so that's my best guess. Maybe she thinks Mordekaiser's spirit can't be destroyed and plans to imprison it inside a Darkin weapon, just like the spirits of the Darkin were imprisoned? Maybe. There's also all of these references to Targon, and how the Noxii might have some history with Arakor, and we know that it was because of the Targonian aspect of Twilight that the Darkin were sealed, so maybe I'm onto something. Let me know down below your theories. I'm very curious to learn why LeBlanc wants a Darkin weapon. But well, now you know the story of the new game, and you also know how it might be teasing the next League season. As I mentioned, I'm planning on making a video about all the cool dialogue that's in this game, so leave a comment down below if that's something you wanna see. Subscribe if you haven't already, it's free and you can always change your mind later. I'm Twisted and I'll see you guys in the next video.